Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault, and once again I'm coming to you with another range report. And today's range report is on the Springfield Arms XDm 9 4.5. And this gun is on loan to the channel by Jack, who has been so kind in the past to donate so many of his guns for me to get a chance to shoot and bring to you this content. Well, as you guys know who follow the channel, I am not always the biggest fan of Springfield Armory. Of course, we know about my issue with them in supporting gun control in the past, but that aside, and I always try to do an unbiased range report when it comes to shooting these guns, I just have not enjoyed many aspects of Springfield Armory, from the aesthetics, just the way the gun shoots for me, the way it feels in the hand. I've just had issues with it. I have always said, though, I do believe that they are high quality firearms. I have really no issues with the quality of the firearm. It's just a personal opinion. So if I have money to spend, I haven't always bought Springfield Armory. But as I mentioned, I do my best in these range reports to always be as unbiased as possible. I also know that this range report is a little bit different than the typical ones I've done in the past because once again, I went to the range and there were a lot of people there. So I couldn't talk at the range, bring the microphone, but I was able to get some video. So that's what I'm gonna do, talk about each little scene before I show it to you. Well, we're gonna start off with my first shots, my first magazine through this. Now, I recently reviewed the Springfield Armory 45, and I talked about how I didn't like the recoil. I kind of felt it was a little bit too stout for a 45. I kind of like a thud recoil on my 45s, and it was a little bit on the snappy side. Talked about how the recoil spring was probably a little bit too stout. I just didn't like it, and a lot of people said, well, you're probably gonna like the 9. So how does the 9 shoot? Is the recoil any better? This is also a little bit longer barrel, has a threaded barrel and the suppressor height sights. So let's put some rounds down range, my first magazine through this thing, and see what I think. All right, so after my first rounds, I have 2 issues. The first one is I'm shooting a little bit low. Now this gun, as I mentioned, does have the suppressor height sights. And sometimes with mini guns that have suppressor height sights, I do tend to shoot them a little bit low, so I need to compensate for that. The second thing I noticed was the trigger. It's a little bit on the mushy side. Mushy, I guess I should pronounce it that way. I've always pronounced that word kind of weird. But anyway, it's a little bit mushy for me. And I know that this might not be fair to all polymer striker fired guns, but I always compare them to Glocks. And the reason I always compare them to Glocks is not because I think Glocks are the best, but it's because it's the gun that I'm 100% sure, well, 99% sure, most people have shot. There's not a lot of people out there that I think have shot Smith & Wesson M&Ps, Springfield Armories, and Glocks. Of course, many of you guys have, but I know that a lot of people that might be looking at this gun may have never shot it before, but most likely they've gone to the range and ran into a Glock or know somebody that has shot a Glock. So it's just kind of my baseline. So I like to compare it to that. That's just the industry standard for me. Well, this trigger is a little bit mushy, and the reset is exceptionally long, and it doesn't have as audible of a reset as I typically like. So let me see if I can show this on camera here. Obviously make sure the gun is safety checked. So let's come over here, and this is the take-up. It's not too bad. It feels pretty good. The wall is nice. It breaks clean. So far I like it. Now here's my issue. That is a super long reset. It's still going. There it is. And it's not very loud. And then there's quite a bit of take-up for me before it gets to that wall again, and it breaks. So I won't talk this time so you guys can hear the reset. It's definitely there. It's just not as audible. So I like to ride the reset when it comes to my polymer striker fired guns. It's that tactile in conjunction with the sound, just the feel. I'm able to really feel like I'm engaging with the gun well. I know when the gun is going to go bang. And with this, I actually had a couple times and I was releasing the trigger and I wasn't sure when the reset was gonna happen. Just kept going, and finally click. It just kind of slowed me down a little bit. Now, is that something that I could get over? Well, absolutely. And if this was the gun that I was most interested in, it's definitely manageable. But if you're used to a little bit crisper resets and triggers on polymer striker fired guns, this one for me was just a little bit mushy, but it is perfectly manageable and well within what I would think would be a high quality trigger and the specs of a high quality trigger. So you don't have to worry about that. This is just kind of a nitpicky thing. So now I'm gonna put some more rounds down range and we're gonna go for the head at 7 yards. All right, so I'm getting the hang of this a little bit more. My group is tightening up, and I know there's a few guys out there that are better shots than me. I totally get it, and they talk about it in the comments. I'm not the world's greatest shot, but remember, these videos are filmed for the average gun guy, made by an average gun guy. I'm not a competitive shooter, so I still think the group's pretty good for my first time shooting this thing. It's getting a little bit tighter, but it is still low. It's just one of those things I would have to compensate for, just like I typically do on a Glock. So I think it's now time I give my wife Becky a chance to put a couple magazines down range with this thing and see what she thinks.
What range did you sight this in at? Did you sight?
All right, so overall, she liked it. She liked the recoil of this one a lot better than the 45. It is a much softer recoiling pistol. I gotta say, it feels more like a Glock 17 than the XD45 felt like a Glock 21. A couple things that she did notice, because she is a little bit sensitive when it comes to the nature of the grips, because she has longer fingernails, and sometimes, depending on the style of the grip and shooting and the recoil, those fingernails can kind of dig into the opposing hand. She didn't have that issue. She felt that this is a really comfortable gun for her. Now, I got to say, every time we do shoot Springfields, she really likes how the, I guess they call it the grip zone, fits in her hand. She really does like these a lot, and she does like the grip safety a lot for some reason. It's just one of those things that I think gives her a little peace of mind. One thing I did notice after her shooting, and something I didn't check when I was shooting, is the thread protector. I know that when you're shooting unsuppressed but on a threaded barrel, it's nice to kind of check that thread protector from time to time because it can walk off. And on this particular gun, it walks off quite easily. I know that many of the guns today will come with an O-ring either installed on the barrel or many times within the thread protector itself. It just adds a little bit of tightness to it and prevents them from walking off. In this case, they don't have it and there's no place for it. As tight as I can make this, it will still walk off after a couple of magazines. Now, no, not completely off, but I do have to kind of reach up there and tighten it up. It's just something to be aware of. All right, so now I'm gonna go for a little bit more accuracy. I'm gonna put the target out at a little bit further range, see how I do. But remember, if I don't do well, don't laugh at me. I'm just an average gun guy. But let's see what happens.
There you go. Yeah. So what I'll do, you can keep your downrange, double downrange. So what I'll do is I'll hold it, okay? Stand up, slide it, and now that's where your grip is coming from, and you're sliding right in. Okay. Bring it in here, son. Slide it up right in here. Check this out right there. That's got it. On your hands. You're standing kind of like this. Fight.
I do in the name.
Oh, well, you know, when you fight like this. No, you. Alright? So you're supposed to straight out.
Step.
So go from modified weaver to a weaver. There you go.
How many rounds for the 10? That was fast.
Yeah, dude. Headshot. All headshot.
Yes, sir.
So that was at 12 yards and the grouping opened up significantly. Now I was doing the same thing that I was doing at 7 yards when I was getting the tighter headshots. So I'm not really sure what happened there. The sights are very visible. I can use them really well. I can see them great. That grouping just kind of opened up. And once again, I'm gonna blame me and not the gun, but I had a little bit harder time. So I'm gonna bring in the target now back to 7 yards and see if my groupings have for some reason opened up at 7 yards. I'll go for the head again, but let's see what happens.
Hey. Target. Yeah. Target will play. Okay. All about practice.
That's it.
Sorry. All right, so this time, have you ever worked with the block as far as the reset goes?
All right, so at 7 yards, the grouping tightened right back up. In fact, I think it was the best grouping I had all day. So Overall, what do I think of this pistol? I really like this pistol. While I still compare it to Glocks, and I think its biggest downside compared to the Glock is the trigger, it's only slightly worse than a Glock trigger. Now, some people like Glock triggers, some people don't. So take that for what it's worth. But for me, I like the Glock triggers generally. This one is just slightly behind it in the way that it feels, but it is definitely manageable and is something that you could get used to. I would put this in the category of a duty trigger, if that makes any sense. It is definitely not a target trigger, but it is consistent. So as I said, it is something that I think I could get used to. Let's talk about the aesthetics of this gun. Now, just like Glocks, the Springfield pistols all kind of look the same. The only difference here is this one is not emblazoned on the side with grip zone, which I'm very happy with, and I think makes the gun look a little bit better. I do like the aesthetic choices of how they design the cocking serrations for both the front and the back. You do have a striker indicator in the back, which I'm not really a huge fan of. To me, it kind of makes the gun look like it's happy to see me, but I don't need that. Just like, you know, Glocks don't have them. I don't need that. I could take it or leave it. To me, it's not a detriment to the gun, but I don't really care. I also don't understand why they have the grip safety. I just don't think polymer guns need it. In fact, when it comes to a carry gun like this, I would kind of prefer it not to have it. The fewer moving parts, I think the more reliable it would be, especially in a stressful situation where you might not have a complete and full grip on this if you're pulling it in distress. I really would like it to be more like a Glock. I just want it to be pull the trigger and it goes bang. That would be my personal choice for a carry gun. And so the addition of this could add a little bit of a safety concern for me, but it's not really a big deal. Nobody complains about them when it comes to the function of the guns or the reliability. But for me, it would be a peace of mind not having it, especially if this was my carry gun. Overall, I felt that this gun is really easy to disassemble. It's really easy to clean. It felt really good in the hand. I think I like this one a lot better than I do the one in 45, but I'm still not in love with it enough to say I need to go out and buy an XD. But it is a quality gun, just like I said, the 45 was as well. I do like the additions of the suppressor height sights. I did not suppress this one on this range trip, but I have no doubts it would have functioned flawlessly like all of the other Springfield guns. So for me, the aesthetics, yeah, I could take them or leave them. I kind of prefer my polymer guns to be either a little bit more plain, like a Glock, or a little bit more tactile. This one, as I said, and this is a qualitative thing. If you like the way Springfields look, great, more power to you. For me, they just kind of look a little toyish, but as I said, that's a qualitative thing. I can't really describe it and put it into words, but I can see why some people definitely would like it. As I mentioned, trigger, yeah, it's a little bit mushy. I do like all the options that come on this. I wasn't as accurate as I normally am with a polymer striker fired gun, but it's probably me more than the gun. So overall, how would I rate this on my little star system? Well, I'm gonna give this 4 out of 5 stars. I think if you're in the market for a gun like this, you'll be happy with it. And my personal opinion is if you're looking for a Springfield Armory XD or the XDM or the XDS, get one in 9. For some reason, the ones in 40 and 45 are just a little bit too snappy, but the one in 9 is extremely comfortable. I might have a little bit more recoil impulse than I could say a Glock 17, but it would be negligible in my opinion. But 4 out of 5 stars, it is a quality gun. Just like every Springfield Armory I have ever reviewed. So I know there's going to be a lot of people out there that say, oh my gosh, you're a hater. You hate the gun. I don't hate the gun. It's just not a gun that makes me go, I need to rush out and buy one. I would rather spend the money on something else. But it doesn't mean it is bad. It is the same thing. I can look at a Toyota. I'm not a big fan of Toyotas, but I do know Toyotas are reliable, good cars and trucks. But so are Springfield Armory. They're good guns. There's nothing wrong with them. It just might not be my cup of tea. So I think my evaluation of these is relatively fair. So before you tell me I'm a hater in the comments, no, I'm not. 4 out of 5 stars on this thing. You really can't go wrong. I think you get a quality gun. It's reliable. I think it looks good. If you're into this particular style, you get a lot of options here for the price. I like it. 4 out of 5 stars. So there you go. My range report on the Springfield Armory XDm 9 4.5. I'll give you guys one more close-up look at it right there. And thank you, Jack, for letting me borrow this awesome gun. I do appreciate it. It means the world to me. And it is all cleaned up and ready to get back to you. So there you go. So let me know if you have any questions or comments or concerns in the comment section below. Do you guys own an XDm9? What do you guys think? So as always, thanks for watching.